So with regard to the 1.3 trillion naira, the ministry was owing generating companies. Was it 1.3 trillion naira? Okay, there is also $1.3 billion. This one must be humongous. Owed to gas companies. Page 581. Page 582. Yes, correction. Definitely, Senator.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Ide Dafinone, Delta Central. On page 581, the proposed resolutions, just below that, resolved that the Senate do, 1, urge the federal government to stand down the idea of increase in electricity tariff by withdrawing subsidy. In our earlier session, we removed the words withdrawing subsidy.
I noted that's actually true, because we are not aware of any subsidy. Please, Clerk, we remove this. Thank you for bringing this forward. That the Senate urges the federal government of Nigeria to stand down the idea of increasing electricity tariff, full stop. Not by withdrawing subsidy, because we are not aware of subsidy. We are even saying we must avoid the idea of subsidy so it doesn't turn into a fuel subsidy in future. So we are not briefed and we are not aware of this subsidy in electricity tariff. So have you noted the correction? So you stop at tariff. Thank you. So page 582. Page 583. Yes, this is Senator Ecom. Yes. So what's the correction?
That the Senate will commiserate with the victims of the unfortunate fire incidents, not incidents.
The clerk, please note. Page 583, page 584. This is Senator Adero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry to take you back to 581. Last sentence, where it is resolved that the Federation ensure the judicious utilization of the 10.5 billion naira penalty imposed on discourse. Mr. President, I'm afraid any money earned by an agency of federal government as penalty should be put into the consolidated fund of the federal government, not to be retained by that agency, because that agency is properly funded. So if you leave this money to NAC, it is an extra money for them to use on whatever they want to do. But this money should go into the consolidated fund of the Federation.
Note, clerk, note, they're saying that ensure that the 10.5 billion naira penalty imposed on discos when collected goes to the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Page 584. Page 585. 584, yes.
Thank you, and I can Bass Yakwab Northeast. Number 11, I believe it should be report, presented and led, and not report, led and presented.
What paragraph? Okay, no, it's procedurally it's correct. He has to lay the report before he does the presentation. It's different from when you were Speaker of the House of Assembly. The procedures are slightly different. Page 585. Page 586. Page 587. Page 588. Page 589. Page 590. Page 590. Page 591. Distinguished Senator Odende.
Thank you, Mr. President, my dear colleagues. My name is Emmanuel Memga Odende. I represent Benue Northeast Senatorial District. I'm from Benue. I stand to move for the adoption of votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 21st February 2024. I so move.
As amended. Yes. Distinguished Senator Johanna.
Mr. President, I am Amos Johanna representing Adamawa North. I stand to second the motion for the adoption of votes and proceedings of Wednesday, 21st February 2024 as amended. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do approve the votes and proceedings of Wednesday held here as amended. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against the motion say nay. The ayes have it. The votes and proceedings are hereby approved. Distinguished colleagues, notification of a courtesy call on the Senate by the Executive Intelligence Management Course 17, EIMC, of the National Institute for Security Studies. The participants of the above course 17 of the National Institute for Security Studies will be paying a courtesy call on the Senate today, Thursday, 22nd day of February, 2024, at 3 p.m. This will happen in meeting room 231, second floor, new building, Senate wing. The chairman, vice chairman of committees on national security and intelligence, committee on anti-corruption, committee on defense, army, air force, navy, police affairs, anti-corruption and financial crimes, and the others are invited, and other distinguished senators are invited to be in attendance for the visit. It will actually be also an interactive session with the participants of the course. So this is signed by the clerk of the Senate. Any petition? Yes, distinguished Senator Apamoro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a petition from one of my constituents, an officer of the Customs Services, Mr. Alpha Onum. Mr. Alpha has served the Customs Services for over 20 years, but was unceremoniously, compulsorily retired over some nebulous offenses that he never committed, offenses for which was never invited for any hearing, and thereby denied fair hearing. In the process, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Mr. Onum wrote a petition to the House of Representatives, and the House of Representatives, after due process, recommended or resolved that it should be reinstated. But the Customs Services paid deaf ears. Subsequently, he appealed to the House of Representatives again, that wrote a reminder to ensure compliance and asked the Compliance Committee to ensure compliance. Yet, up to today, Mr. Onum has not been reinstated and no action has been taken on the part of the Customs. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Mr. Onum is therefore appealing to a big brother to please intervene in the process, since the House of Representatives appears incapacitated by the refusal of Customs to obey their resolution. I so submit, Mr. President.
May I proceed to lay the petition? So this is referred to the Committee on Ethics, Public Petitions, and Code of Conduct, as well as the Committee on Legislative Compliance, to report back to the Senate in 1 week. Distinguished Senator Oduagan, please approach the chair. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Asukwo Ekpeyong and all South senators on the South-South Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024, SB 358. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, South-South Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024, SB 358, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, South-South Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024, SB 358, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Jonah Williams Etten on the Chartered Institute of Petroleum and Gas Engineers of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2024, SB 359. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Chartered Institute of Petroleum and Gas Engineers of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2024, SB 359, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Chartered Institute of Petroleum and Gas Engineers of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2024, SB 359, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the third business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Barao Jibril on the Government Performance and Accountability Bill 2024, SB 360. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Government Performance and Accountability Bill 2024, SB 360, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Government Performance and Accountability Bill 2024, SB 360, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Wamako Magatakada Aleyu. Magatakada Aleyu. Mr. President, very distinguished senators, obstruction on duty is a very serious offense in the police. The fourth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of most distinguished Senator Wamako Maga Takada Aleyu on the Pension Reform Act Amendment Bill 2024 SB 361. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Pension Reform Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 361, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Pension Reform Act Amendment Bill 2024, SB 361, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the fifth business of the day is the presentation of a bill standing in the name of distinguished Senator Natasha Apoti Uduagan on the Nigeria Gold Reserve Bill 2024, SB 362. Mr. President, you may wish to invite the Clerk of the Senate to read the short title of the bill.
Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, Nigeria Gold Reserve Bill 2024, SB 362, first reading.
Distinguished colleagues, Nigeria Gold Reserve Bill 2024, SB 362, first reading taken. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and very distinguished senators. The very first order of the day is the presentation and consideration of the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and other financial institutions on the confirmation of the nominations of the following persons as listed on the order paper for appointment as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Mr. President, you may wish to invite distinguished Senator Abiru Mukail Adetokunbo, Chairman of the committee, to move the motion for the presentation and consideration of the report.
Distinguished Senator Abiru Adetokunbo.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Mukahil Adetokunbo Abiru, and I rise to present for consideration and approval the report of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions on the confirmation of the nomination of 12 persons as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Distinguished Senator Peter Jia.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Peter Jia, representing Niger South Senatorial District from Niger State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the chairman of the Banking and Currency Committee. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded. Those who are in support that the chairman proceed to lay the petition or the report and present same for consideration, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The chairman. Chairman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President of the Senate and my distinguished colleagues. Presentation of the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions report on the screening of nominees of Mr. President for confirmation of appointment as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Preamble. The Senate at its meeting on Wednesday, 14th February, considered the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federation for the confirmation of appointment of 12 nominations for appointment as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Senate referred same to this committee for further legislative action. The listed numbers, the 12, they are on page 12, starting from the governor, the current governor, and the deputy governors, 5 of them, the PAMSEC, who is a member of the committee representing the Federal Ministry of Finance, and 5 new members, Professor Murtala Sagagi, Aloysius Odu, Mrs. Aku Odi Kemelu, Mr. Mustafa Akiumi, and Mr. Bandili Amo. On page 3, we have the methodology that was adopted by the committee. And moving on to so on that page 3, it is important that I make this further comment. In furtherance of this legislative mandate, the committee requested for and received the curriculum vitae of and security clearance and other relevant documents of the nominees and invited them to appear before the committee for screening. The Senate may wish to be informed that the following, who have either been screened and confirmed by the Senate as governor and deputy governors of the central bank and or are statutory and institutional members, no longer require further screening. They are Mr. Olayemi Kadosu, the CBN governor, Mohamed Soni Abdullahi, the CBN deputy governor, Mr. Bala Mbelu, CBN deputy governor, MS Emen Usoro, CBN deputy governor, and Mr. Philip Ikeazo, CBN deputy governor, and Jafia Lydia Shehu, a permanent secretary, Ministry of Finance representative. On page 4, we have the chairman's remarks, and on 4.0, the nominees appeared before the committee on Wednesday, 21st of February 2024, and were accordingly screened on the available information as follows. Mr. Lamido Yuguda, we have his profile on pages 4 running up to page 5. But in a quick summary, Lamido Yuguda is the current Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission and has been nominated for confirmation in his personal capacity. He has over 3 decades of experience in banking, accounting, finance, economics, and investment management. Now, we also have Professor Sagagi, who is also an enterprise development and investment promotion specialist with over 32 years of experience. So you also have his CV running from page 6 to page 7. And we also have that of Aloysius Odu. His CV runs from page 7 to 8, and he's currently a senior fellow and director of African Growth Initiative in the Global Economy and Development
Is there anyone you don't have the CV? So what are the recommendations? Use your mic. You can educate us on your findings and thereafter your recommendations.
Okay, Mr. President. Okay. So all the nominees are experienced in economics and financial services, and our recommendations are therefore on page 7. But it's also important that I also quickly summarize our findings. That the appointments are in accordance with the provisions of the Act, that the nominees possess the requisite qualification, that we did not receive any petition against any of the nominees, and that the nominees have been cleared by the Nigerian Police Force, Department of State Security, and they have their Code of Conduct acknowledgement slips. Recommendations. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions, after robust engagement with the nominees and being satisfied with their experiences, performances, and academic qualifications, do hereby recommend as follows: that the Senate do confirm the nomination of all the underlisted members as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. 1, Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, CBN Governor, as chairman. 2, Mohammed Sani Abdullahi, CBN Deputy Governor, member. Bala M. Mohammed, CBN Deputy Governor, member. MS MM Usoro, CBN Deputy Governor, member. Bala M. Bello, CBN Deputy Governor, as a member as well. Philip Ikeazo, CBN Deputy Governor, as a member. Jafia Lydia Shehu, representing Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, as a member as well. Mr. Murtala Sabo Sagagi, CBN Director, also as a member. Aloysius Odu, as a member. Mrs. Aku Odin Kemelu, as a member. Mr. Mustafa Akinwumi, as a member. And Mr. Bandele A.G. Amo, as a member. The committee wishes to express our profound appreciation to the Senate for this opportunity to serve in this capacity. Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues.
Yes. Distinguished Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President, Barao Jibrin Kanonot. Mr. President, permit me to commend the committee under the leadership of Senator Adetokunbo Abiru for a job well done. They promptly began to work on the request from Mr. President, and taking cognizance of the fact that this committee has to start work to deal with the challenges we are facing in our economy, they decided that they will work around the clock to deal with the present request. This is commendable. And I think because of the track records of the nominees, of course, the statutory nominees were here before us, and we don't have problem with them. And even the ones that have been brought together with the statutory nominees, like Professor Murtala Sagagi and the rest, all of them have outstanding track records, wonderful pedigrees, that you can do this job properly. They fit into the requirements needed to perform the functions so prescribed for them. So I think without much ado, we should go straight away to give our nod as a Senate for them to be confirmed to perform the function in order to move this committee forward. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Izonaso.
Amendment, sir. Something is missing. there is a, can I go ahead?
Sorry, you have just been commended by the Deputy Senate President for a job well done, and you are saying something is missing. Deputy Senate President, he said that the report is inconclusive, but you just finished commending the committee. So how can something be missing again? Distinguished Senator Abiru, in case it is very consequential, but I think you should relax. Now that you have been commended, take the commendation. Don't spoil it. Otherwise, I will invite DSP to withdraw the commendation. So, the distinguished senator is also.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Osita Ezunaso. I represent Imo West. I don't want to talk about the amendment, but I know what he's trying to say. The name of the DG of SEC has been omitted from the list submitted for approval. So I'm sure that if I'm a member of that committee, if Mr. President permits, I can also make the amendment to say that the name of the DG of SEC is omitted on the list that we just submitted.
So the name of the DG of SEC is here. It's in this committee. I've perused the entire. I've gone through it. It's not omitted. The name is there.
Well, I'm standing up, Mr. President, just to correct it. But Mr. President, let me make my comment. If I'm giving the floor, Mr. President.
Exactly.
No. You know, it's the last page.
The first name that is in the report has to do with the list. The second name has to do with confirmation. So if you say it's omitted in confirmation, that shows we show he has been screened.
We are screening now.
No, it's only you that know.
Thank you, Mr. President. Allow me to speak on this subject. Mr. President, I just want to commend the President and Commander-in-Chief for the quality of nominees into the MPC. The Monetary and Fiscal Policy Committee is a very sensitive committee, Mr. President. And you will recall that they have not sat for close to 6 months now. They have not sat. And this will be the first time they're sitting. And we have just been informed that they will sit on Monday and Tuesday. So it is right and proper that the Senate confirm these nominees. Because these nominees, if you look at their CV, Mr. President, you will discover that their CVs are quite rich and are giving hope to Nigerians that with this caliber of people coming on board the MPC, I believe that things will turn around as from Monday when they meet during the MPC. Mr. President, all the nominees, all are erudite, very knowledgeable in the financial sector. So, and I do not think that we should even continue to talk about it, Mr. President, because the facts speaks for itself. And I believe that whenever Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief have done something good in this regard, that he should also be commended. So I am praying that the Senate will confirm these nominees as recommended by the Committee on Banking and charge them to go to work immediately, because the task ahead of them is very enormous. And Nigerians are looking up to them by the time they meet on Monday and Tuesday to come out with a proper monetary policy that will salvage the economic problems that we're having right now in the country. I so submit, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ndume.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the issue here, first of all, is that I can understand the hurriedness in the work. But if you look at it, actually the DG that they are talking about is in the report. And if you check page 2, you find out that the PAMSEC of Finance that is listed as number 7. But in the conclusion, she is listed as number 6. Now, there is number 7 there, but it's blank. And that is what the chairman is trying to say, that there is an omission of the name of the DG SEC. The CV of the DG SEC is in the report. But the problem with the report now is the inconsistency. Now, it is left for us to correct those typographical, what I think is typographical error. Huh? So, or when you come to consider and pass the report in the committee of the whole, we can correct that and move on.
That's the essence of clause by clause consideration.
Well, let me, distinguished Senator, no, thank you for your contribution. Distinguished Senator Abiru, you have other members of your committee here. You have them? They are here. Okay, so move a motion to include number 7.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues.
Number 7 is left vacant. Is there?
Number 7 is number 6. Number 7 is not contained in the recommendation of the committee.
No, there is number 7, but no name is there. There is provision for 7. There is provision for 7. Okay, so please proceed. DSP, don't withdraw your commendation yet.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise.
Mr. Olamileko, we have taken notice that you were not here for a while. So no matter how you shout, we have noted that you are back. So I know you were trying to apologize that you've not been around for a while. So okay, you are back. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. I rise to move the motion that the nominee for membership to the board of the Monetary Policy Committee, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, who has been screened and listed on page 4 of the report, should be included and was conspicuously missing in the concluding part on page 13, should now be included as a member of the committee in the final consideration. I so move, Mr. President.
Senator Chocho.
Your Excellency, Mr. President of the Senate, very distinguished colleagues, I am Issa Jibrin, representing the very good people of Kogi East. I rise to second the motion ably moved by the chairman of my committee, of which I am a member. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the chairman has explained that there was a typo error and has moved a motion accordingly, and the motion has been seconded that the name of Mr. Yuguda be included in the final recommendation as having been screened, found fit and proper, and cleared by the committee to be a member of the MPC. Those in support of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So, clerk, include it in the constitution. Now, Senate Leader.
Thank you.
What order? What order? What order?
Well, Mr. President, I heard distinguished.
I thought you want to move a motion for us to go into committee of the whole. No, we are going to have the opportunity. Please proceed. It's not point of order. I was saying information, and he has no order. Please, can you move forward? Let us be fast.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. I stand to move that the Senate resolve into a committee of the whole to enable us to consider this report. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the motion that the Senate do resolve into the committee of the whole to consider the report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do dissolve into a committee of the whole to consider this report. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Lamido Yuguda for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Moritala Sabo Sagagi for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Aloysius Uche Odu for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Agu Pauline Odin Kemelu for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Mustafa Akinwumi for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Bandele Amo for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Chairman. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Olayemi Kadoso as chairman of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Muhammad Sani Abdullahi as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Will the Senate approve the nomination of Bala Bello as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of M. Musora as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Philip Ikazo as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate approve the nomination of Jafia Lydia Shehu as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I move that the Senate revert to plenary to enable the chair report progress. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion that the Senate do revert to plenary for the chair to give progress report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do revert to plenary for the chair to report progress. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, giving them, and that was. Senator Garba, the Senate President is very transparent. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Banking, insurance, and other financial institutions on the screening of Mr. President's nominees for appointment as members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria, and approve the nominations of Olayemi Kadoso as chairman, Mohammed Sani Abdullahi as member, Bala Bello as member, Emem Usoro as member, Philip Ikazo as member, Jafia Lydia Shehu as member, Lamido Yuguda as member, Moritala Sabo Sagagi as member, Aloysius Uche Odu as member, Agu Pauline Odinkemelu as member, Mustafa Akiumi as member, and Bandele Eji Amo as member. So this approval by the Senate is for the chairman and members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Yes. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Olayemi Kadoso as chairman of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in support of this confirmation say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Olayemi Kadoso as chairman of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria is hereby confirmed. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Muhammad Sani Abdullahi as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Muhammad Sani Abdullahi is hereby confirmed as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Bala M. Bello as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in support of this confirmation say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Bala M. Bello as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria is hereby confirmed. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Emem Usoro as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor of this confirmation say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Emem Usoro is hereby confirmed as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Philip Ikazo as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Philip Ikazo as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria is hereby confirmed. Distinguished colleagues, Will the Senate further confirm the nominee Lamido Yuguda for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor of the confirmation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Lamido Yuguda for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria is hereby confirmed. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Moritala Sabo Sagagi for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Moritala Sabo Sagagi is hereby confirmed as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Aloysius Ucheodu for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Aloysius Ucheodu is hereby confirmed as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Aku Pauline Odim Kemelu for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Aku Pauline Odim Kemelu is hereby confirmed as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Mustafa Akiumi for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Mustafa Akiumi is hereby confirmed as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Bandele Amo for appointment as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Bandele A.G. Amo is hereby confirmed as member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. So let me commend the chairman and members of the Committee on Banking, Insurance, and other financial institutions for the expeditious delivery of the report of their screening exercise, very painstaking, highlighting the qualifications, the experiences, and the capabilities of the various nominees presented by Mr. President for consideration and approval. And further commend Mr. President for selecting men and women of great expertise that will help us with policies to turn around the Central Bank of Nigeria and redirect the monetary policies of the Federation for the good of all Nigerians. And finally, let me also commend my colleagues, the distinguished senators, for their contributions and efforts in ensuring that the screening the reports and the entirety of the approvals and confirmations are done, their contributions and everything. So, Chairman, congratulations for the expeditious manner in which this was carried out. And I congratulate the members of the MPC of the Central Bank of Nigeria. I wish them well and pray that they will use their expertise to redirect the monetary policies, including even contributions to the fiscal policies, to ensure that Nigeria gets out of the current economic quagmire. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the second order of the day is the consideration of a report on the Southeast Development Commission Bill 2024. Distinguished senators will recall that this is a House bill for concurrence and was referred to the Committee of the Whole yesterday, being Wednesday, the 21st day of February 2024. Mr. President, with your permission, I wish to move for the Senate to resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that the Senate resolve into the Committee of the Whole to consider the report. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do resolve into Committee of the Whole to consider this bill for concurrence clause by clause. Those who are in support of this motion say aye. Those against the motion say nay. The ayes have it. We will now resolve into Committee of the Whole. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, amongst other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of the Civil War, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the southeastern states of Nigeria and related matters therewith, 2024, enacted by the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for concurrence by the Nigerian Senate. Provisions in the bill. 31 clauses. So clause 1 to 3, return. Clause 1 to 3. Those in favor? clause 1 to 3. Okay, on 2. No, but let's take from the leader of. Okay, it's better for you that is not from there.
Mr. President, I remain Muhammad Adamu Aliru. Section 2, establishment of a governing board. I have no problem with chairman. One person shall be an indigent to represent the following member states, that is Abia, Anambra, Ebonyi, Enugu, and Imo. But C, 3 persons to represent the following security organizations: Army, police, and civil defense. Mr. President, this is unnecessary. What are they going to do there? We don't need them there. Instead, if you want membership from other zones to ensure, just to make it in line with the other development commission we set up, like Niger Delta Commission. We have members from Northwest, members from Northeast. So I would suggest that we include 3 members from geopolitical zones instead of security agents. One person from each of the 3 geopolitical zones. It can be from Southwest, can be Northwest, can be Northeast.
Like what we have in the North.
Yeah.
It's a move. It's a motion.
Yes, sir. So I therefore move that we should have.
Like what we have in the North.
Yeah, we should have one member representing Northwest, North Central, or Northeast instead of security agents. What are they going to do there? Yes. Their role is statutory. Whether you include them or not, they will still be there.
Thank you.
It's not working.
Mr. President. Of your own.
So,
Mr. President, I stand to second the motion ably moved by Senator Alero that the point you raised should be omitted, and then each person to represent the 5 other geopolitical zones should also be included, because it's a national body. It's not meant for South India alone. Whatever is done there is done through the entire country. So just the way the NDDC has representatives of all other political zones, the Northeast Development Commission also has the same arrangement. These also should also be the same, and other ones that will come after should also have the same arrangement. I so second.
The distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that clause 2C of the bill be amended to read 21C be amended to read 5 persons, each representing the other 5 geopolitical zones of the country. And in turn, 21C Roman figure I to Roman figure 1, 2, 3 be deleted. And we should replace them, clerk, with 5 persons, each representing the other 5 geopolitical zones of the country. Those in favor that this clause 21C be rearranged in that order and delete Roman figure 1, 2, 3 and replaced with 5 persons, each representing the other 5 geopolitical zones of the country. Say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk, noted. So we are further looking at clause 2, clause 2, clause 2D. Where we?
Your Excellency, distinguished colleagues, we are seeking further amendment on clause 2D, E, G, E, F, and G, sir. That is, 1 person represents solid minerals, extracting and mining producing companies. 1 person to represent Federal Minister of Finance. 1 person to represent Federal Minister of Environment. Your Excellency, these clauses are not obtainable in other commissions, and as such, we should expunge it, sir. Thank you, Excellency. And there is no need for it, sir. Yes.
Conda, distinguished Senator Dan Kwambo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Senator Ibrahim Dan Kwambo. I rise to second that those clauses to be expanded as recommended. Thank you, sir. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that clauses 2D, E, F be expunged and replaced with okay. So those in support that clauses 2D, E, F be what order? No, because we have a motion on ground that has been seconded. So no, you are not the maker of the document. You are not the maker of the document. If you were the maker of the document, you would have given us explanation. Those in favor of the motion as seconded that clauses 2D, E, and F be expunged, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. My amendment is 2H, which says that there shall be 2 executive directors. In line with what is obtainable in other commissions, we now have 3 executive directors, which include corporate services. That was why we had to amend the NDDC Act to add corporate services. So my amendment is that we should make it 3 executive directors instead of 2. I so move, Mr. President.
Any seconder? Yes, Senator Ezenwa.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Ezenwa Onyewuchi, and I represent Imo East Senatorial District. I rise to second the motion for amendment. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that in clause 2, sub H, that it be amended to read 3 executive directors. Those in support of the amendment as seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So this is amended to read 3 executive directors instead of 2. Come. Yes, information, Senator Sitango.
Mr. President, I will want to Ositangu, Enugu West. I want to advise anybody who is trying to recommend, anybody who wants to recommend changes in this act to ensure that he look at the other acts like the North-East Development Commission Act before making recommendation. For instance, when we talked about one person representing the geopolitical zones, in the other acts, it is not the other 5. The zone will still have a representative. Like, if you check the North-East Development Act, 2D, one person or each to represent the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. Northeast still appeared, and it's still the same thing in the Niger Delta development. Niger Delta still, South was still represented. Then D, in the same area, they also have, apart from one person representing the 6 geopolitical zones, you still have one person to represent Federal Ministry of Finance, one person to represent Budget and Planning, and 3 executive directors. So if we are moving motions to amend this, make sure you go and look at the act you are referencing. Thank you, Mr. President.
I want to
So, if you permit me, Mr. President, I would like to move a motion to restore that, one, that Article 2C will still contain one person to represent the 6 geopolitical zones, not the other 5. Also, I move that we also include one person to represent the Federal Ministry of Finance and one person to represent the Budget and National Planning. I so move, Mr. President.
Dismissed Senator Plank.
Our President, as seated as chair, my colleagues, I rise to second the motion moved by our distinguished Senator Osita that we should try and follow what is contained in the other geopolitical geopolitical commissions. This, I stand by it so that we will not have parities in the composition of the geopolitical zone commissions. I so second.
Yeah. Disparity. Yeah. Disparity.
Distinguished colleagues, the amendment has been moved as a motion by Senator Sitango and seconded by Senator Plank that we do change clause 2, 1C to read 6 persons, each representing the 6 zones of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and also 2(1)(d) should be restored, that to include the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, and also the Ministry of Environment, as well as 3 Ministry of Finance and National Planning, Ministry of Finance, okay, Ministry of Finance, Budget and Planning, and Ministry of Environment, because of the ecological problems of the Southeast. Because of the ecological problems of the Southeast. Those in support of the amendment say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clause 2(1), Clause 2(1), the numbering is a bit warped, because you are talking about Clause 2(1), Clause 2(1)(a) to H, and now we are going back to another Clause 2. The chairman and other members of the board shall. So this really should have been clause. I believe this should have been Clause 3. So, Senator Ome, have you made that observation?
Yes. On 2A. 2H. 3 directors. We've agreed on that. We've made provision.
We have well, when the final draft is done, it will reflect accordingly. But what I'm saying here is the numbering is establishment of the governing board 2. So you have 2(1), okay. So now you have 2(2). Am I right? So in 2(2), they are saying the chairman and other members of the board shall 2(2)(a) be appointed by the president, subject to lawmaking is something we have to be very careful, because just like the architect, any mistake lies forever. It's different from a doctor whose mistake is buried underground. Two A. Yes, distinguished Deputy Senate President. Deputy Senate President.
Mr. President, I want to move for the amendment of 22A. 22A which reads, be appointed by the President subject to the confirmation of the Senate in consultation with the House of Representatives. Mr. President, this is constitutional matter. It is clearly stated in the Constitution that the power of confirmation resides on the shoulder of the Senate. Senate. No, in the consultation, it's clearly stated, it's a constitutional matter. So this should be amended because it's not in consonance with our Constitution. It should only be, you should read this way, it should be clearly stated that appointment should be made, should be confirmed by the Senate. Simple. I so move, Mr. President. I so move.
The distinguished
it should go mutatis mutandis because it affects section 3 as well. 6.3. Because section 6.3 also read where, even though we have not gotten there, but you run mutatis mutandis, so we don't need to amend there when we go there. It has already been taken care of. Because it reads as well, where a vacancy occurs in the membership of the board, it shall be filled by appointment of a person representing the area where the vacancy exists to complete the remainder of the term of office of the predecessor, and shall be appointed by the President, subject to commission of the House of the Senate in consultation with the House of Representatives. That also should be amended. So all should run mutandi mutandis. Everywhere we have this kind of something that is misnomer, which is not in tandem with our Constitution, should be removed, and the confirmation should always be by the Senate. I so move.
Well, I think the suggestion should be your amendment should actually be slightly expanded because the way the law is, or the way the proposal here is, it does not show that the managing director and the 3 executive directors shall be appointed by the President and be confirmed by the Senate. And so, because what comes here is that the chairman and other members of the board the managing director and the executive directors are too important to just be used for the word order. It should be that the managing director, the chairman, managing director, the 3 executive directors, and other members of the board, in my view, shall be appointed by the President, subject to the confirmation of the Senate. So you may wish to rephrase.
Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, I move that this section should be amended by rephrasing it as explained by Mr. Chairman. I so move.
Distinguished Senator Ome, so that you understand what the chairman rephrased. So the Deputy Senate President has moved that 22A should read that the chairman, the managing director, the 3 executive directors, and other members of the board shall be appointed by the President, subject to the confirmation of the Senate, full stop, not in consultation with the House of Assembly or the Federal Executive Council or the House of Reps, so that we will be in line with the Constitution. Is that what you are seconding?
Yes, Mr. President, my name is Senator Victor Ume. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to second the amendment proposed by the Deputy Senate President that the chairman, the managing director of the Southeast Development Commission, the 3 executive directors, and other members of the board shall be appointed by the President, subject to the confirmation of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you. I so second. DSP. Chikena. Okay.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved on the amendment of clause 2 sub 2 to read as aforestated. Those in support of the amendment as aforestated say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk, please note. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. Further to our amendment on section 2, sub G, we have already amended the act to reflect 3 executive directors, but I've gone through the whole act. The executive directors are not defined, they are not designated, like in NDDC and other commissions. So they just said here 2 executive directors, which we have amended to reflect 3 executive directors, but they are not designated. So it is proper, Mr. President, that when we say 3 executive directors, we designate it. Number 1 is finance and admin and administration. Number 2 is projects, ED projects. Then number 3 is executive director, corporate services, so that it can be so reflected in line with other commissions, Mr. President.
Any seconder?
Mr. President, Osita Enugu West, I rise to second the motion that the designation of the executive directors should be reflected as moved by Senator Osita Izunaso. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, an amendment has been proposed and a motion moved and seconded that the 3 executive directors should be given responsibilities as proposed by Senator Izunaso and seconded by Senator Ositango. Those in support of the designations say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 4, 5, 6. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Osita Enugu West. Or in clause 6, I want to repeat the same amendment that the Deputy Senate President moved before. Clause 6(3). Okay, so that it can also be everywhere and remove House of Reps. 6(3). Okay. Everywhere it's accord. Okay, thank you, Mr. President. We are learning.
Thank you. The Deputy Senate President had moved that motion and was seconded and approved that it should move mutatis mutandis. Mutatis mutandis. That anywhere you see in consultation with Federal Executive Council or in consultation with the House of Representatives, you delete those things and it should remain confirmed by the Senate in line with the Nigerian Constitution. So clauses 7 to 10. Those in support of clauses 4 to 6 say aye. As amended, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, clauses 7 to 10. Those in support of clauses 7 to 10 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 10 to 15. (10 to 15). Those in support of clauses 10 to 15 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 16 to 20. Those in support of clauses 16 to 20 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 21 to 25. Those in support of clauses 21 to 25 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clauses 26 to 31. Those in support of clauses 26 to 31 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Further clarification. The interpretation clause 30 on page 13. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The schedules, page 1, page 13. Page 1 and pages 13. Those in support of the schedule say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The long title in page 1. Those in support of the long title say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Explanatory memorandum, page 15. Those in support of explanatory memorandum say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, amendment. So the civil senator is here.
Of this subclause 1 of this bill
shall be part-time members. It is contradictory in the sense that the managing director, the three executive directors are not part-time members. And therefore, there is an ambiguity here. It is important that we rephrase that provision. To remove the managing director and the three executive directors being referred to as part-time members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, distinguished colleagues, I move that we revert to plenary to enable the chair report progress. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
I support the motion that the Senate reverts to plenary for the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the chair should revert to plenary to report progress. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate in the Committee of the Whole considered the Southeast Development Commission Establishment Bill 2024 and approved as follows. Long title as recommended. Clause 1 as recommended. Clause 2 as amended. Clause 3 to 5 as recommended. Clause 6 as amended. Clauses 7 to 29 as recommended. Interpretation clause 30 as recommended. Short title clause 31 as recommended. Schedules 1 as recommended. Explanatory memorandum as recommended. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? The Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand to move that the bill be now read the third time. I so move, Mr. President.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion by the leader of the Senate that the bill be read a third time. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this bill be now read the third time. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from the allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effect of the Civil War, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges in the Southeast states, and for related matters 2024, third reading.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to establish the Southeast Development Commission, charged with the responsibility, among other things, to receive and manage funds from allocation of the Federation account for the reconstruction and rehabilitation of roads, houses, and other infrastructural damages suffered by the region as a result of the effects of the Civil War, as well as tackle the ecological problems and any other related environmental or developmental challenges faced by the southeastern states of Nigeria, and for related matters 2004. Third reading taken. The bill read the third time and passed. This bill is a very important bill that has been passed by these 10 senates. And so I had to hit the gavel to underscore the fact that this bill addresses all the fears of our brothers and sisters and my in-laws. And my in-laws in the southeastern states of Nigeria. I want to say congratulations to you all, and I pray that this commission will bring a lot of development and will also assist you to stop any form of agitation and bring peace to the region. And I've just been reminded by the Deputy Senate President, Distinguished Senator Danduse. Senator Kawu, please don't be angry with Senator Sadiq. Thank you. I've just been reminded that with the passage of this bill today, the Southeast is no longer marginalized. I don't know whether where is Senator Ifeanyi? He's not here. No, Baribe will relay my message to Senator Ifeanyi that with the passage of this bill, the Southeast is no longer marginalized. And so, yes, so Senator Ome, there shows the love that this 10th Senate has for the Southeast. See the expeditious way in which this concurrence was handled. And I pray that when we harmonize everything and it is ascended into an act of parliament, that it will address all the fears and challenges of the region. Congratulations to the Southeast, and thank you to all the distinguished senators for the support and contributions to this bill. I've noted that the chief whip is doing his work. So even if the noise is from the high, it must be brought down. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, the third order of the day is a House bill for concurrence as listed on the other paper, which is a bill for an act to make provisions for the retirement age of staff of National Assembly service and for other related matters, 2024 HB 529. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you will recall that this bill was read for the first time in this chamber on Tuesday, 30th January 2024. Mr. President, for the simple nature of this bill and for interchamber reciprocity, I will, with your permission, proceed to present a short lead debate on the bill to enable distinguished colleagues understand the principles and the objectives of this bill. Mr. President, respected colleagues.
Approach the chair.
You have not distributed the bill? Please do that now.
This one is my organ. The way when I finish with the best of the budget, I do package job. Everybody is happy. Immediately I finish. Just like this man. People read it. It destroy. I even want to learn from your chair. No, I will pray for you.
Okay, necessary extension. Point of order. Mr. President, distinguished senators, I rise under Order 8 sub 3 of our rules to move for extension of time to enable us sit beyond 2 p.m. and be able to take care of the rest of the items we have on the order paper. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I second the motion that the Senate do sit beyond 2 o'clock to enable attend to all the matters on the order paper. I so second.
Yes. Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate do extend its sittings beyond 2 o'clock. Those in support of the motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, my lead debate on harmonized retirement age for legislative officers of the National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The bill was read for the first time on Tuesday, 30th January 2024. The bill seeks, distinguished colleagues, to make provisions for a harmonized retirement age for legislative officers of the National Assembly, exempting them from the application of the General Service Rule on retirement age. Mr. President, respected colleagues, the bill provides for the retirement age of legislative officers to retire at the age of 65 years or 40 years of service, whichever is earlier. You would agree with me that the National Assembly is a specialized institution which needs to be strengthened, and to achieve this, its officers need to be placed well by removing them from public service rules on retirement age. This is in line with the international best practices. For the avoidance of doubt, distinguished colleagues, in the United States Congress, because of the need to ensure institutional memory, legislative officers retire at the age of 65 years, and same is also applicable to the British Parliament. We also have examples of other countries with similar provisions in the laws establishing their parliament. Of the three arms of government, the National Assembly is the least developed, and this can be attributed to the dearth of its qualified staff who were caught up by the public service rules on retirement age. Considering the importance of the legislative service, the passage of the bill into law will strengthen the legislature as an arm of government, as similar legislations are provided for other arms of government in Nigeria. The legislations passed to increase the retirement age for all the services in the executive and judiciary arms, for the avoidance of doubt, are as follows. 1. Harmonized retirement age for teachers in Nigeria Act 2022, passed by this Parliament. 2. Retirement Age of Staff of Polytechnics and Colleges of Education Harmonization Act 2025 for academic and non-academic staff passed also by this Parliament.
Come again, 2020 what?
Retirement age.
2020 what? Because you said 2025. No, I'm saying for the purpose of record, it's good to let you know we haven't reached 2025 yet.
2012 for academic and non-academic. 3. Universities Miscellaneous Provisions Amendment Act 2012 for university lecturers, also passed by this Parliament. And 4. Harmonized retirement age for judicial officers from 65 to 70 years, passed also by this Parliament. Mr. President, respected colleagues, this bill is geared towards making provisions for the retirement age of legislative officers. And please note my words, legislative officers who are staff of the National Assembly, but the provision does not include the following: drivers, porters, cleaners, security guards, messengers, typists, craftsmen, mechanics, clerical officers, gardeners, stewards and or cooks, and foremen. Mr. President, respective colleagues, given the above legislative officers, given that legislative officers of the National Assembly are eminently qualified to have their retirement age increased from 60 to 65 or 35 to 40 years in service, whichever is earlier. This will strengthen the institution for an improved service delivery, stabilize and develop the capacity of the legislature for a sustainable democracy in Nigeria. Permit me to state here that the enactment of this bill will help save the institutional memory of the National Assembly and will also be cost-effective in the long run, considering the cost of engaging consultants. The rate of turnover of members of the National Assembly every election year puts the legislature into dilemma of training the new members, but the effect is not felt because of legislative officers with in-depth knowledge of processes, practices, and procedures of the legislature that are still very much in the system. Consider what will happen if they are affected with the public service rules on retirement age. This will throw the institution into another level of learning process that will place a heavy financial burden on the National Assembly engaging consultants. The cost effectiveness of this bill for a harmonized retirement age for legislative officers of the National Assembly, Mr. President, is laudable. Mr. President, my respected colleagues, this bill went through rigorous legislative process, including public hearing in the House of Representatives, and was passed. The bill was passed by the House of Representatives. The bill, as was passed by the House of Representatives, is slightly amended to meet with the present realities, as we will see in the report or in the report for clause-by-clause consideration in the Committee of the Oath. I must also add that it was the initiative of the leadership of the Senate, as well as distinguished members who at committee level had a chance to go through this, by insisting that legislative officer, there should be a proper definition of legislative officers. And it was because of that that those exemptions were made. I therefore, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, urge you all to support the second reading of this bill to encourage legislative officer to continue to offer professional services to this institution as we refer it to the Committee of the Whole for clause-by-clause consideration. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I thank you.
It looks like since it was already discussed by the leadership, the DSP may wish to allow one or two other senators to make comments. Yes, the distinguished Senator Ismail Akau.
Mr. President, my dear distinguished colleagues, I am Suleiman Abdurrahman Kau Sumaila, representing Kano South Senatorial District from Kano. Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I am here to support what the leader of the House, okay, I thought we were starting the debate. Mr. President, I am here to second the motion heavily moved by Senate Leader. I so second, Mr. President. After seconding, Mr. President, I just want to add 1 or 2 words in line with the submission and to show my support on this bill. It is in 2 areas. The first one is that, Mr. President, we are practicing bicameral legislation, and by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are the Senate. We are partners with the House of Representatives. They have started this very important legislation, and they are finished. They are looking for our concurrence for the bill to become the law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I think in the spirit of togetherness, we are to support all what came from the House of Representatives. 1. Secondly, Mr. President, I am supporting this proposal, or I am supporting this bill because of one fundamental issue. If we can remember, in 2009, 2010, when we start the process of amending Nigerian Constitution, the Senate and the House constituted a committee, Constitutional Amendment Committee, as we have it today. I am glad to say the gentleman sitting before you is the secretary of our committee of the Constitutional Amendment in the 6th and 7th Assembly, the clerk of the Senate of today. If you see how he works day in, day out, to put the committee and the National Assembly, more particular House of Representatives, through to have the first amended Constitution from 1964 to date, on that very material time, you must commend his effort. 1. Secondly, Mr. President, when we are doing it, he attended so many conferences, so many seminars. We have so many engagements locally and internationally to have knowledge on how to amend the Constitution, and we have achieved in starting amending Nigerian Constitution bit by bit to where we are today. If you check or if you look what he is doing to promote as a technical aspect of legislation in this chamber, the way he is guiding the chamber now, without this legislation or without passing this legislation, he is going to retire very soon, which there is serious issue on that aspect. We are losing men, and most of this work is by brain, not a physical. Therefore, I am supporting this amendment, and I am urging our colleague to support this amendment because legislation work is professional, it's very special. It's not like the other civil service work I saw submit, Mr. President.
Thank you, distinguished Senator Kao. Is there anybody opposed to this? Nobody? Nobody? Please, if there's anybody that is opposed to it, raise your hand. Senator Abaribe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I remain in Abaribe, Abia South. I have looked at the lead debate. Let me put on record, Mr. President, that I'm opposed to this extension. And I have looked at the reasons given by the Senate leader on why we should extend. First one, that there's a harmonized retirement for teachers. We passed the teachers bill here, and we know the reason why. Teachers, lecturers, and others are the bedrock of raising the society and the level of, I will say, the development of the country. And so when we looked at it, and the rate at which people were leaving this country because of very low pay, we said, no, let us help. I've also looked at the ones for universities, which is about what we passed about the same time, and for judicial officers. Then coming down to the officers of the National Assembly, I ask a simple question. My distinguished colleague here has said, just take an example of somebody who has knowledge. If we go to specialized knowledge, I ask, the person in the Ministry of Finance who is a director, does he not have specialized knowledge of finance? Would we say that it is so different from the person who is in the finance sector inside this place? And when you now say that, that one person here has knowledge, every director here has a deputy, every clerk here has a deputy, and each and every one of them are trying to also, when the people retire, they also go up. When they go up, other people are now employed. Then we want to stultify employment to make sure that somebody stays here beyond the public service rules. The third one, Mr. President, is that what will the Nigerian public say of us? That because we have people who work inside here as our staff, then we want to make them very different from the rest of the staff in the public service of Nigeria. I think that if we say that, people have knowledge, they have to stay, why won't we go ahead and pass a harmonized bill for everybody in this country and let everyone move up? Why should it be special here? And I continue to insist, the core and the work here is done by us as elected people. Every person inside here who works as support staff must have his training from the time he begins. So we cannot use that they are not trained or they are not this as a reason. We are replaced every 4 years. We know that. And we cannot say, let us expand because of that. No. Until a special reason is given. And I do not see, Mr. President, my dear colleagues, I do not see what separates the person who works inside here as a staff of the National Assembly from the person who works in the Ministry of Commerce as a staff. Until we can say that, then we will say, okay, there is something very different. And so, Mr. President, I do not support the extension.
Yes, Senator Ndube.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. in making my contribution, I always try to remind us that we are senators. I kept quiet on this matter because ever since it was reflected on the other paper, I've been trying to get information from the staff. I may make a mistake, but if you put this on a secret ballot to the staff here, you'll be surprised what will happen. If we are here, we should really be senators. This matter, I've listened to our colleagues from both sides. I'm not opposing or supporting, but I'm cautioning us that we need to do more consultation on this matter before we take a decision. That's my contribution.
Senator Danduse.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my respected colleagues. I'm Senator Danduse Mutar Mohammed, representing Katsina South. In actual sense, I'm against this very motion, bill heavily moved by the leader for 5 important reasons. Because if you look at the situation this country is, and considering this bill, it will create a vacuum to the other ministries. Because all of them, they will come and posterity will judge us that we have done what is wrong. Because this bill is, if you spend 35 years in service, and some of them even their age is overdue in their services. And as a matter of fact, we have graduates and unemployed people in this country that are pit deemed to take positions in that respect, and they are denied responsibility to come to serve under this very important institution. And as a matter of fact, we are making things difficult in this country instead of solving what we are supposed to solve. Because somebody who spent 35 years in service and demanded another, if it is in academic line, is training and retraining of our young and graduates to come into something. But for this one, Mr. President, there is a lot of issues which we have to look at it. What more of the rest of the drivers and the cleaners and the ones that were exonerated in this bill? Are they not human beings? So as a matter of fact, we have to look at the reality of even the situation, economic situation we are. So that is why I am voicing my mind to oppose this very bill for austerity reason. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you. I just, Senator, I didn't want to say something. Okay. Only those that are against the bill. If you are not against the bill, there is no point saying a word. Yes, you wanted to say something. Okay. Okay.
Point of order. Point of order. Point of order. Mr. President, point of order. Mr. President, sir. No, Senator.
Point of order. Point of order.
Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President. Mr. President, this is a contentious matter. Let us step it down and do more consultation. I so move. I move. I move. We will not support.
Point of order. Point of order.
Distinguished colleagues, we have a lot of things to do today. Senator Kawu has spoken in support of the bill. I also wanted to hear from those who are opposed to the bill, and I've seen so many hands here who are opposed to the bill. Therefore, the bill is controversial. My opinion is that we step it down for more consultations. Is that the view of the Senate? Okay, I put the question. I put the question. Those in support of the motion that were of the view that we step it down for further consultation, say aye. And those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader of the Senate, next item.
Well,
no, the leader of the Senate, Deputy Senate President, DSP, you've seen the mood of the Senate. You've seen the mood of the Senate. I don't have any interest in the Senate, but as far as I'm concerned, it's important that we reflect the mood of the Senate. The bill is stepped down. Now, leader of the Senate, can we look at the issues we can take, because we have a courtesy call by National Institute for Security Studies. So let's see what motion we can take as quickly as possible.
well, Mr. President, distinguished senators, let me just place it on record that what our rules, please tell them to leave Senate President alone so that we can. Senator Mustafa.
Senator Mustafa, please.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
Mr. President, please, the chamber is ready.
Mr.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, let me say for the record that what our rules allow us to do is to vote on motions. In putting the question, Mr. President, you had commented on a view expressed, and you had asked those who were in support of the view to vote. It was not a motion. If it was a motion, it would have had to be seconded.
So, the leader of the Senate. I said the view of the Senate. Is it the view of the Senate that this bill be stepped down for further consultation? I'm not asking you to move a motion. And the majority said yes. So now, are you reviewing what I said? You have to come by way of motion to review the decision that has been taken by the governor. So please proceed to the next item.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. Mr. President, you are the chief interpreter of the rules, and I go by your ruling. The fourth order of the day, is that what we're doing?
Leader of the Senate, you know, because of the need for the MPC meeting, we may need to adjourn and reconvene to approve the votes and proceedings. That's why I was telling you that we should not have any controversial issue. I'm not against. Very good, but some are more. Distinguished Senator Alero, you were the first person to come to me. You were the first person to come to me to say you are opposed to this bill. So what then? What changed your mind? What made you born again? And I'm saying that the same way that the same way you have been convinced now, the same way you have been convinced, because you came first and said you were opposed to it. Now that you are for it, allow them to lobby others to also be for it. I don't want to go into contentious issue. We have a lot to do in this Senate, so I rule you out of order. Yes, Senate Leader.
Well, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, one of the decisions we have taken here today was to approve the report of the Senate Committee on Banking, Insurance, and Other Financial Institutions regarding the screening of members of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And we did this consonant with the constitutional provision that the appointment by Mr. President, the nomination must be ratified by this Senate. And since we had done that, and in overriding public interest, a very crucial meeting of the Monetary Policy Committee has been fixed for next week, Monday. And in further view of the fact that we are not going to be able to sit again before Monday for us to be able to approve the votes and proceedings as is required for the National Assembly to be able to transmit this confirmation to Mr. President, may I most respectfully move that we step down the other items on the order paper for today so that we can adjourn temporarily and reconvene for us to approve the votes and proceedings so that the decision can be immediately transmitted. I so move, Mr. President.
Can the Senate Leader approach the chair? Minority Leader. Sorry, Minority Leader, there was a motion that we should step down other items in order to enable us reconvene to approve the votes and proceedings. So if you are seconding the motion that we step down other items, we just adjourn and then reconvene.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I support the motion moved by, I second the motion moved by the leader. I still second.
Thank you for seconding, but remember that the chief whip of the Senate has a motion which has been stepped down thrice. And even Senator Natasha has a motion which has been stepped down 5 times. But in view of the circumstances of the need to reposition the economy, I think it's important that we put the question to suspend other items on the other paper to enable us adjourn, reconvene to approve the votes and proceedings to enable the MPC meeting to take place on Monday. So those who are in support of the motion that we step down the other items on the other paper, say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So the Senate is hereby adjourned till 3 p.m. No, it's 2 o'clock. It's 2:30. So yes. So how long do you need? Okay, so in view of the need to get, so this Senate is adjourned to 4 p.m. of Thursday, the 22nd day of February 2024 at 4 p.m. Distinguished colleagues, as we rise, we take the courtesy call by the National Institute, which was slated for 3 o'clock in meeting room 231. And from there, we now come over to the next sitting at 4 p.m. And please take cognizance of what the Senate Chief Whip said, that the next sitting should include the motion of Senator Oduagan as well as Senator Ndume. Thank you.